Yeah, I wanted to talk about, of course, AI and, what we can do together. I guess I wanted to start with like an issue that I'm having. And that issue is identifying, and this can be like something that, we can share out with the rest of the world as we kind of work through it. But my issue right now is identifying my ideal client avatar.
Okay.
So in your marketing firm, how do you identify the ideal client avatar?
That's going to be demographics and psychographics. And, we want to know, who are they before they work with you? Who are they going to be after they work with you? Right. And so for each of those, we want to know what they're experiencing on a day-to-day basis, right? You want to understand, where are they? What are they feeling? What are they going through? We want to identify the before and after. You're going to identify what are they experiencing emotionally and day to day after they've worked with you. But we want to know what their age is, what's their family situation, what's their background, where do they come from, but what are their habits? How do they go about problem solving? Are they watching digital content? Are they reading books, listening to radio shows? Who are the people that they pay attention to? Because you want to look at who those people are. You want to identify who those influencers are or authors, and see who else is. We can paint a picture. For example, if it's a book on Amazon, for example, let's say for marketing, well, who's buying a certain type of marketing book, like a beginner, intermediate, or advanced? And then look into the reviews and see, how are they asking questions? What's the language that they're using? One of the reasons why I'm doing this call along with others that I set up is to try to find out within 10 to 15 minutes, what's the language that you use to describe your problem, right?
To
And so
describe
you've
my
just
problem.
yeah. So you've described your problem, or your current pain point, right? So I need to know, in your words, how do you describe it? So your ideal client profile is going to be centering around that. For example, do you want the $300 a month customer, the $10,000 a month, or the $50,000 a month customer, or even
Mhm.
higher, depending on your industry, right? How they describe their problem is very differently. So for me, with digital marketing, when I go into networking groups, we'll say, well, if you need to get your phone ringing, then your website's probably failing. Well, that's different than the person who's willing to pay $10,000 a month. That person's saying, well, I don't have a problem getting my phone ringing, but I'm paying too much for my leads. So how do you reduce the cost of the leads? Well, we'll take a look at their pay-per-click campaigns and find out, oh, well, can we reduce the number of impressions per clicks? Because that's going to give them a better quality score. It's going to reduce the amount that they have to pay per click. And then, if we're following Russell's model, hook, story, and offers, how he diagnoses something that's not working. So he's going to say, well, let's look at the hook. Are you getting them to the site? Okay, great. You're getting them to the site. You got the click-through rate. That's good. Well, now what do they do when they get to the site? How long are they spending on the site? Oh, they're bouncing right away. Well, then there's a problem with the story, or there's a mismatch, right? Well, okay, so now they're getting to the point where there's an offer, but they're not accepting the offer, moving forward. Oh, well, obviously you're charging too much, or you haven't built the offer stack. You're not 10xing the value. There's something going on there, right? So that's the diagnostic process. As far as your ideal client profile, you have to know, how do they describe, at the level that they're at with the income level, they're going to use different words, right? So you want to know what their fears and frustrations are and their desires in their words. And once you've got their words, then we can take that. So I'll start with, you said ideal client avatar. I would call it an ideal client profile.
Okay.
Because you're going to create a different profile for different levels of awareness, problem awareness. So Eugene Schwartz had a book called Breakthrough Advertising. I met the guy, which is why I was able to get a copy of the book from his son when Eugene passed away a little while ago. The book, I think they're on sale on eBay, but I was able to get one from his son because I went out there in 2015 and had a meeting with them. Eugene Schwartz talks about the awareness ladder and says that, well, everyone is going to hear your message at a different level of awareness. So that message has to change based on their awareness. But he also said, so awareness is like temperature. You have to change your message for that temperature. But then you also have to determine, well, what are the different stakeholders who are going to be paying attention? So this ideal client profile has to be drawn up for the different kinds of stakeholders, and then also the different levels of temperature or awareness. If you want to get the $50,000 customer, you have to dial in that profile, and you've got to find out, well, where is that? How am I attracting people? Well, at the highest awareness level, that's actually where people are already comparison shopping. So that's not really the best place to reach people, because that's where you become a commodity. But if you can own their awareness journey, if you can capture them at the very beginning stage, and I talk about this, I say there's ungated and gated content for people. So you want to get them at that most basic awareness level with ungated content, but then bring them to your gated communities where your competition can't steal from you. In that gated community, that's where you want to excite them, you want to challenge them, get them to subscribe in some way, and then you're going to take them to a conversion stage where they have like an aha moment. I think Russell would call that the Epiphany Bridge story. So with the Epiphany Bridge, the idea is that they have a realization. But what Russell doesn't tell you is that it should be an incomplete solution. Incomplete because if you scratch the itch, they're not going to spend more money with you.
Makes sense.
So it's all about elevating them up the ladder. And one other thing that Russell does wrong, he focuses on the bottom of the value ladder to get people to move up. And the problem is with that model, you don't want to scratch the itch of the high net worth individual at your most basic price point. What we do is what's called a ready now funnel, where we filter out, we bring them into, so we excite them, we get them to sign up for a challenge or get them register for a webinar. Then we say, now that you've signed up for the webinar, you know, you're probably going to buy from us anyways. I mean, or actually I would do the Frank Kern thing, which is like all these other guys, they're going to take you and offer you a course for $2,900 after you've watched a 3-hour webinar. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to do it right now.
Yeah.
You know, I'll let you in for $2,900. But the point is like, but the person who's already there, now they like you and they trust you. I mean, if they're going to spend the money, they just give it to them right away. That's the ready now funnel.
Okay.
Now, if they say, whoa, wait a second, who are you? I'm not ready to spend that kind of money. Well, then you send them down to the most basic offer.
Okay.
It's like we're flipping the value ladder, because one of the best things from what I do is I have access to data as far as real benchmarks of conversions and stuff. So I know how many people actually opt in at different points.
Okay.
And that's one of the hardest things. A lot of people are just getting started. They don't necessarily know what the conversion rate should be. How do you know if you're actually doing it right? How do you know succeeding? So the ready now, it's going to be 40% are going to be ready now, and typically 60 aren't. And then out of the 40, ultimately, it's about 6 to 7% are going to be willing to spend, you know, up to $50,000. That's who you want to get to right away.
Yeah,
because if you can get 10 people a month at 50,000, then I mean, why would you sell anything else?